So Guardian has an article about how and I'm going to tell you what the Guardian's not telling you, but 30 under 30-year sentences, which is a clever title. Why so many of Forbes' young heroes face jail. Just a few years ago, Charlie Javis was riding high in 2019. The tech CEO landed a spot on 40 30 under 30 list for her work on a startup called Frank, which she described as Amazon for higher education. What does that catchy but completely empty phrase mean? Yeah, which is how most of these startups work. Catchy but empty phrases. It means Frank helped students navigate the financial aid process. It was apparently so successful at doing this that JP Morgan Chase acquired the company for $175 million in 2021. $175 million for this company created by an under 30-year-old. And Javis was made a managing director at the bank. The entrepreneur shared the news on LinkedIn, boasting that in just 4 years, Frank had grown to serve over 5 million students at over 6,000 colleges. Turns out those numbers might have been a teeny bit exaggerated. On Tuesday, Javis, 31, was charged by the Justice Department with falsely and dramatically inflating the number of customers of her company in order to get JP Morgan Chase to buy it. According to the lawsuit, Frank only had about 300,000 clients. And she said she had how many? 5 million? Jesus. And fabricated data to show a larger customer base. She enlisted a data scientist to make up a few million customers, basically. And JP Morgan, which has about 240,000 employees and pays its CEO $34 million, didn't seem to spot this in its due diligence, which is also hilarious. How pathetic are they? But Javis has been charged with separate counts of conspiracy to commit wire and bank fraud, each of which carries a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Javis has denied all the allegations. And then eagle-eyed Twitter users pointed out, yeah, this is who does our real research now, not journalists, but just random Twitter people, that this is not the first Forbes 30 under 30 alum to suddenly be looking at decades in jail. You have Sam Bankman-Fried, a self-described effective altruist, made the list following the dramatic collapse of his former crypto exchange, FTX. He's facing a litany of charges ranging from bribing foreign government to money laundering. His colleague, Caroline Ellison, the former co-CEO of Alameda Research, made the list in 2022. In December, Ellison pleaded guilty to 7 criminal charges, carrying a maximum sentence of 110 years in prison. Her cooperation means she'll likely get a far more lenient sentence. There's also Elizabeth Holmes, probably the most famous one. She never actually made the 30 under 30. I thought she did. Well, she was on the cover of Thurbs. She was on the cover of Forbes, but she got an honorary mention for 30 under 30. But she was on the cover of Forbes later when she was over 30. So still cover of Forbes. And then there's Trevor Milton, the founder of the hydrogen-powered truck company called Nikola, who was on a 2020 Forbes list called 12 under 40, listing the youngest billionaires. Trevor Milton, the 38-year-old college dropped behind zero emissions truck maker, joins the ranks of the richest millennials. I got rich so quick, you guessed it, with just a little sprinkling of crime. Perhaps most notably, Nikola made a demo video showing its non-functional truck rolling downhill, but tilted the camera to make it look like it was traveling under its own power on a flat road. Milton has been convicted of fraud. Wow. I knew that the company Nikola had issues, but I didn't know they tilted the camera to film their truck. Anyway, here's what Guardian and mainstream media won't tell you about this is that they won't tell you everything, but it's about this. Why are there so many who are doing such amazing things, right, in this system? Why are so many of them committing crimes? Because the system rewards criminality. It rewards crimes. And it's not just the 30 under 30. They're just going along with a system that is profit over all else. Now, most of the rich, and these 30 under 30 did become very rich. But again, well, not again. And actually, I'll withdraw that comment until I say this next part. It's not just the 30 under 30. There is crime going throughout this entire capitalist system. You know, you look at the incredibly rich people who created the opioid epidemic, killing hundreds of thousands, made them egregiously rich. And ultimately, they paid fines. They did not end up in prison. You look at Bernie Madoff. You look at so many hedge fund managers. Now, some of them remain on the right side of the law, but they're still screwing so many people in this world, taking pensions. I mean, you look at the 2008 housing collapse. That was banks stealing homes from millions of people. Crime, and whether it's under the law acceptable or not, to me, that is a crime. This is how this system works. I've done videos, the last video last week on Most Censored News, about the water wars, where people are essentially stealing water. Now, yes, they've rewritten the laws to make it not criminal for a billionaire couple named the Resnicks to own a majority stake in one of California's largest water banks, public water banks, because it's a public-private partnership. So they make their crimes legal, and many of them don't go to prison, and many of them are allowed to continue doing these things. Nestle buying up so much water outside Flint, Michigan for $200 a year. They paid $200 a year to steal millions of gallons of fresh water from outside Flint, Michigan. Arrowhead Water, which was owned by Nestle, now owned by Blue Triton, they also taking millions of gallons of water from California, paying $2,000 a year. Almost nothing. It's a drop in the bucket to them, literally. But the thing I was going to say before that I then withdrew is was going to be maybe it was that, actually, that they changed the laws, so technically it's not criminal behavior, but then they do it anyway. Oh no, I remember what it was going to be. Is these people, these under 30 that are going to prison, the reason they go to prison, yes, they're also rich. They also become egregiously rich, but they stole from the rich. Elizabeth Holmes, this girl they're highlighting, Bankman Fried, they all were involved in stealing from the rich. And that's one of the key points. They're stealing from the rich. And that's why they end up in jail. Whereas the Sacklers, who created one of the biggest perpetrators of the opioid epidemic, they did not steal from the rich. They killed and stole from mainly the poor and middle class.